Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Simon with TRADERTOUGH doing the market preview for Friday, the 27th of July, the last Friday of July, I believe, if I have that right.
Good morning, everyone. This is Simon with TRADERTOUGH doing the market preview for Friday.
That should not have filed off, but we got the speaker taken care of now, so there we go. Okay, so let's get started. So first of all, everyone, relax. End of the week, right? We're trading 28.42 3/4. Market's been pretty grindy and trendy overnight, right? To the upside, and buyers are in control overall, right? I think it's important when we start off the day. You don't have to be. I want to go through, but you don't have to be anxious about how the day is going to work out. While I've been driving with my windows down, and obviously my hair reflects that. So, excuse me for looking just a little crazy this morning, I guess. So we're looking for one or two trades. This thing just makes me look totally blue, so this goes to the side. By the way, if you don't have a blue light and you work early in the morning or in a dark room, literally it looks like this. It emits a blue light, right? Keeps you alert, and it keeps you from getting depressed. I work in a room with no windows and no sunlight, and so I keep that thing on a couple hours a day. And your mental health and your focus and your ability to be alert and relaxed at the same time is really important to getting your winning trades down, right? So let's take a look at what's happened overnight. Before I get started, just real quick, pop this up. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Trading derivatives has significant risk. You can lose all your capital. Please know what you are doing. Don't take consistent drawdowns, right? If you're losing money, my suggestion is you stop and figure out what the heck you're doing. If you can't paper trade profitably, you can't real money trade profitably. The inverse is not true. You can be able to paper trade profitably and lose your butt real money trading. But the difference between the two is where your issue lies. Anyone can learn how to trade, but if you're making money while you're paper trading, it's because you're relaxed and not worried about money. And usually when you're losing money, real money trading, it's because you're scared to lose money, or there's some other psychological issue. Figure out what it is. You don't have to get rid of the issue. You just have to know that it's there to overcome it. Once you know that that's going to be your tripwire, you can build a process around it so it doesn't trip you up. Per example, and I think I'm done with this, and this is for educational purposes only. Please do not follow me blindly. Learn my trading style. Take what you like out of it and do the rest with what suits you, right? I'm primarily a day trader and scalper. Occasionally I'll swing intraday, but most of the time my trades are scalps. Okay, so the reason I was going to say that difference between those two places is where traders get tripped up. Traders, when you trade without any risk or without any responsibility, can read the market really cleanly, and they don't need an outcome out of the market, so they can just sit and look at it and go, oh, it's going up, I'm going to trade to the long side. But once they want money out of it, they start looking at every little nook and cranny and trying to be perfect. I stopped trying to be perfect with it a long time ago. And then I've also got the algo to start doing a lot of the heavy lifting. It's been mentally much easier for me over the last couple of months trading since we finally got this algo worked out. Let the algo do the heavy lifting for you. I'm going to show you what I mean right now, even from the overnight. Okay, so first of all, if you look at the overnight session when we came in, I'm on this screen right here. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. So this is London Open, roughly. This is right here. Let's see, 26, 27. Let's scoot over all the way through so I can show you this. Okay. This is our close, roughly right here. This is 5 p.m. my time. This is, here, we're going to stretch this out. Okay. This is 7 o'clock. This is roughly 8 to 8:30 right here. It's a little bit past. I'll spread that out. But these are range bars, so the time gets all collapsed in there. But that's 8:30. This is roughly 8 o'clock. Okay, this is a little bit after. Okay, so a couple of things that I mean by relax and let the market prove to you what you're looking for. Guys, remember yesterday afternoon, for those of you who weren't on YouTube, you'll catch up in a second. I'll go through what I'm expecting for the day, but this is an important point. Yesterday afternoon, I said my long was a trigger on a close above this bar, right? And then my stop, okay, my stop would be if I closed above this bar, my stop is this, right? 28.37 and a quarter, and roughly 2 ticks to 4 ticks below. So let's just call it 36 and a quarter, right? Why is that important? So Asia's a little bit sloppier, and realize when this got triggered, this actually came back down before the close, right? But the point is still valid. You clearly closed above. Had this not been the closing time with Amazon's numbers, you probably would have closed, had a little quick backside test of this bar, and then a continuation to the upside. This is what I expect, right? If you look at yesterday, every single trigger from the stars indicate momentum. Every single trigger paid yesterday, a point to 2 points or more, right? And so the idea is and the reason why that is important is because when I get triggered in the momentum trade, I can load up my trade size, right? I trade leverage, I trade concentrated, and I try to trade less and focus more on where my key opportunities are. And that's how I get paid. If you look, right, what we did in Asia, we opened up, then in early Asia, we came and backside tested, right? This is slow motion, the same trade we get in real time. We came back and backside tested. If you look over here to the left, we highlighted the biggest delta, right? And that was the other part that we had to clear. Notice that when we cleared above it, so we have 2 factors. The last push down, right, which in this case, we actually got one more push down right at the close, but we're going to just key off of what we were working on during the day session, right? So this was actually the trigger was on this bar for this trade. But again, I'm not trading in Amazon's numbers, right? If you look and you see how we were keyed over this place, and then what did we say the last piece was? We had to clear over. That was the hurdle. Here's the close above the hurdle. Here's the backside test. Notice we never close underneath the bottom of that bar, right? So trigger, close above the biggest delta. If you took the trigger, you got a quick, I don't know what it was, 1 or 2 points. Again, it's a little messed up because this was actually the trigger shifted right after the close. Backside test, grind and continue higher. And then if you look in Asia, which again, I think is very good trading, slow as daylights. I got in here really late. I took this trade on the backside test of VWAP, right? Why? I'm above my biggest delta from the prior session. Buyers are in overall control. Early weakness. HK's open. If they were going to panic, they tend to panic right out of the gate and sell it down. Backside test, rotate back up to the high, and that was it. This 2 or 3 points in Asia is all I'm looking for, and I'm gone for the night. It's like, see you later. This is already quite late. It's 10 o'clock. I'm usually done by 9 or 9:30. Okay? So coming in on the day, what's the market telling us now, right? Look at the PA. So let's erase that, right? We don't have to even look at a big time scale chart to understand what the market's doing right now. Okay. Number one thing, people in Asia and Europe aren't scared of the market right now, right? We'd have to have a change in context of what people are willing to do, because right now, since yesterday afternoon at the low, we've been grinding up. So the first thing I know is that I have to break this trend line to the downside, number one. Number two thing I know, I can see clearly yesterday afternoon, there was resistance all the way across. So I don't even need a special chart for this. 28.40, 28.38. I know I've got to be below those levels, right? So I'm just making it simple for the guys who are new. You don't have to come in and you don't have to come in and be a perfect technical analyst. You don't have to come in and know everything that about volume profile and TPO and everything else. Sometimes you just have to ask really simple questions, right? Like, where's the market? What's the market doing overnight? Who's in control? Where's our resistance above and where's our resistance below? And what you can do is take this, right? So look at that chart when we squeeze it up. That's a 1.5 range bar chart. The first thing that I see, what I'm deconstructing from my brain so I don't get emotional, it's bullish, right? Look at this chart going all the way back to 718, right? If you look, we can just do some really simple stuff. So the first thing I see here, higher low, right? Higher low, higher low, higher high, right? I'm going to connect these back. There's the last high, there's the new high. Each of these lows are stepping up, right? Then we've come through and we've started trending. We haven't even approached the last place where we based out. This is recent stuff, 724, 725, 726. So the first thing I know is yesterday, under all that sell pressure from NQ, ES couldn't get below 28.30. So in my mind, in my journal, I have it written down really clearly. If I don't get And I don't mean just like peak below 70, 28, 29. Like if I don't get below 28.30 in a meaningful way, there's no short, right? There's no reason for anyone who's up here, who's been buying up here, to get scared and panic out of the trade. So what am I looking for? We're at 28.44. I will assume near 28.30, they're going to try to buy it. If they don't break it from 28.30, it's not a short, right? And what this chart also automatically tells me is that buying dips gives me more insurance, right? Because I'm trying to bet what other people are going to do, right? We're all playing against each other. You're either in cash, long, or short. Those are your three choices, and then the amount of risk you're putting on each trade, right? So right now, what this chart is telling me, very relaxed and very simply, is that traders are buying this market, and I'm better off being long. And I want to keep that opinion unless I get below and hold below 28.30. Below 28.30, we will now have a group of traders trapped, and it'll be this group of traders. Then I have to get below this level right here, right? That's below 28.10. That'll have my second group of traders trapped. And then finally, to really break down, I've got to get below this structure right there. Notice that they're all about the same range in each group, right? And unless I get below here, going back to 717, which gets me below 27.90, I would expect a buy response each and every time. That doesn't mean that shorts don't work in this environment, right? What it means is you will have an easier time getting them to rescue your trade. You'll have an easier time getting your trades to push, right? And you will find more comfortable entries, and you'll be able to relax looking for longs in this environment, because a lot of damage has to be done and a lot of rotation down has to be done before we really break, which is this huge base off to the left, right? Next point that I want to bring up. What's the average range? Well, on the downside, we've had almost no range. So in a decent market, we get 20 to 25 points down. From yesterday's close, which was, let me pull up my domes real quick. Dome. No. Yes. Okay. Yes, close was 28.42. Let's just call it that. So normally 28.22 to 28.17 right in here. That would normally be the bottom end bounds of where I'd look for a response. You'll notice even on days like on this day here where we push straight up, about 25 points is the most the market can put on up or down in this current environment, because we're at the very, very tippy top of the range. That means not that we can't go past 25 down or 25 up. It just means if you look at 100 examples, 95 of those examples are going to get capped at 20 to 25 in this part of the range. So that means on the upside, my upside range from 42 brings me up to 62 to roughly 67. That's the range that I'm looking for today. That's my up and down. The further I can push out into this range if I'm looking to short, right? This, I want to push way out here and look for short. Just remember, in a bull market, we tend to just kind of grind up to the top and then hang up here as opposed to rolling down. The converse is true. As I spread this out, right? I'm trying to make this easy for people to kind of get into their mind before I give specific levels. Okay, look at all the dips down. So if you look at this dip, this is 2028. This is 2010, 18 points down, finds responsive buyers to push back up. This is 2024. This is 2812, roughly 10 to 12 points, finds responsive buyers. Now we've even gotten more grindy as we're waiting for earnings, and we haven't been able to get the 10 to 12 down. It's been hard to even get 5 down the last couple of days. So then the next question that comes, it's natural, right? What would change the character of that market? Okay, every morning we've had a hard time getting more than 5 points to the downside. I apologize for not looking straight at the camera, but I have 8 monitors here, and I'm just looking at each one as I kind of get a glimpse of what the market's doing pre-market. So what would change that character? Now I'm going to go past the open, by the way. So if people trade the open, I don't have at it. I'm going to go past. What would change that character? Well, every morning we've had about 4 or 5 points down, not much more than that, right? So if I'm sitting here and I'm looking the first 15, 20, 30 minutes, and we roll down for 15 points, right? I'm going to go, ding, changing character, right? So what does that mean? Are there going to be responsive buyers at the first support levels? Are we going to get below prior day's value area low? Can we get back above value area low after we do that, right? On the opposite side of that coin, if we drive straight up and we go up 15 points, that's a big open drive. We haven't had 15 points up in the first couple of minutes either. I'm going to go changing character. I definitely don't want to short. I'm looking for shallower pushes down. And of course, in the room, we're looking for the stars to set up and break for the momentum up and down, right? Shorts worked on the momentum trade yesterday. I just wasn't willing to trade to the short side because I wanted to be relaxed and be able to take my long side trades, right? So I'm looking for what would change the character of the current market. And you can write that down by simple observation. You don't need 20 years experience to look and go, wow, the range tripled, right? Range is changing, speed of pace changing. What's happened after 9:30, 10 o'clock every day? We've gone into this one tick deal, especially on NASDAQ, where it's gone tick, tick, tick. That's very enticing because it can look like, oh, that's a top. It hasn't proven to be a top in this particular environment. I think the market just opened. That's exactly what happened. It hasn't proven to be a top in this particular environment, right? What's happened to be is a lure to short and then get run over for 3 or 4 points. So don't go, oh, it's slow. Let me get my dumbs fixed. Oh, it's slow. That's changed. Obviously, NASDAQ's a big deal right now. Twitter, I think, missed or was down 20% pre-market. Facebook, but Amazon blew out. And I think you're just going to have to look at how the FANG stocks respond. But the other thing you'll notice is look at the difference between ES and NQ. NQ got whacked 100 points on Wednesday afternoon. ES went down 5 points, right? There's no sellers available, and the banks are driving ES. Now, any of that can change at any time. But right now, what the market's saying to me is, Simon, find ways to get long. You'll be rewarded. Simon, if you want to short, go ahead. Just put on your seatbelt. Be ready to be a little anxious because any short can get run over hard in this particular environment. And it'll be easier if you wait till after, right? If you're going to look and draw a chart for your kid, which is always how I like to think about my trades, right? Where do I want to short? I'd like to get underneath this huge base right here, underneath 2808. Right? And I'd like to short pushes into this, right? That's where I'm thinking, wow, my shorts probably work pretty easy into this. And when I look at this, I go, okay, right across here, any pushes down and towards this area, I'd probably want to be a buyer, just like everybody else, right? Because everyone's going, well, the market keeps going straight up. And even if we're day traders, we got to think, what is every institutional trader thinking out there? He's thinking like, God, I need it in. I can't even get the market to correct off of bad earnings on Facebook and Netflix. I need a way to get in. They're going to look for every dip to take advantage of that. And when the dip comes, they're going to make it look scary. Why? They don't want you to buy. They want to scare the crap out of you so you'll puke your contracts or your shares so that they can get a better price. That's how it works. It's psychological warfare, right? So a couple things to note real quick. Oh, I apologize. The screen isn't up. I wanted to show you something. What happened to the screen? There we go. What I was pointing about is, I apologize. I was pointing to this base down here, right? So now let's go take a quick look at the profile and get the key critical areas for the day. Okay. Let's erase all these lines. Okay. Number one thing that you're going to note on the chart, looking at it from a profile TPO standpoint, is that we are one-timing to the upside. We started back on the 23rd. We have not been able to trade below prior day's low in the RTH since then. So the first clue that we might have a significant change in character, possibly, right? So this is straight out of Mind Over Markets. I didn't make any of this up. You want to see if we had the ability to trade underneath 28.33 1/4. Every day that line is shifted up. The next clue, right? In order to go lower, I've got to get below value area low. That's 28.37 1/4, right? Once I'm underneath 28.37 1/4, do I want to short immediately? No, I'm going to ask myself a question. Have I been able to stay underneath 28.37 1/4 for more than an hour? Number one question. Number two question. Once I'm underneath there, I already know there's going to be responsive buyers as we push down. Why? Because ES tends not to go straight down, right? So 28.41, I'm going to subtract 20 points. That puts me roughly at 28.20. I'm going to look there and go, where's it likely to respond if we get underneath 28.37? This is the last anomaly that needs to be repaired right here. Really simple. See that? I'm going to look at 28.25 to 28.22 3/4 and go, so what's the pattern we're looking for? Guys in the room, you know this? The over-under, right? The over-under underneath, establish above, backside test and go. Does that work every time? Nope, but it works a lot. Next, I know that I have a TPO and a volume point of control and quite an pinpointed TPO right here, right? That's 28.39, 28.40. I know that the first time into 28.39, 28.40, my guess is traders are going to buy. I don't trade the first 30 minutes, really even the first hour, because I have my trade set up easier. But my guess would be if I were trading, I'd go, I don't want to violate this 28.40 to 28.39 location. And that'll coincides with how the price action worked overnight. If you flip back around over here and you look at 28, here's 28. This is the exact chart we're looking at, 28.40 to 28.39, and you can see. Let's get this over here. Chart settings, 24 hours. Sorry about that. This will take a second to load. Chart settings, 5 days. There we go. Okay, there's the 28.38 to 28.40 area. Look all night long, right? In Asia, doink. Then we came in early this morning, straight in there, and I would expect to have responsive buyer. That worked all night long out of Asia. It worked all night long, and it worked. Obviously, we held above all night in Europe, and clearly everyone knows that support level's there. And my guess is they're going to defend it this morning, and that's why that level is important. Okay, so the next thing that's important to me, going back to the TPO, right? Value area high. What's the rule on value area high? You don't have to freak out about it. It's not that hard. Okay, number one, anywhere in the day, can we establish control above and hold over an hour above value area high? If we can, the likely result about 60 to 70% of the time is some variation on a push this way. Your shorts are low odds up here. Does that mean you can't short up there on a stretch? Nope. But what usually happens is once we've opened inside value, you expect chop and open auction inside value. That's the blue area on this chart, right? Once we establish above, since we didn't open there, I would look for a push up. I look for a push back. And I don't want it to close really on a 5-minute basis, but certainly on a 30-minute basis back underneath 28.42.75. And if we hold, what I'd really like it to do is chop sideways right above 28.42.75 for about an hour, build up a bunch of shorts who think it's going to fail, and squeeze the daylights out of them up to 28.54 or 28.60 or whatever the 20-point extension is up, right? Same thing when I get underneath, because I know buyers are in control, right? Usually, if we're in a downtrend and we get underneath value, we can get big fat extensions. I'm going to show you an example of that, okay? See how we're over here on this date, 7/19. Actually, forget even the downtrend. There's the trade. There's value area low. Look how the day played out. We try to push in. We push out. Now, do I want to short down here just because we're underneath? Nope. I want to look for pushes back up to value area low, and then I want the algo to trigger me in short so I can roll to the downside, right? Okay, keep rolling, keeping it going back for the same thought process today. If we long liquidate to the downside, right, do I want to short just because we close underneath here? Nope. First of all, this is all poorly auctioned. I want to be really careful to make sure I don't do one of these jobs. Straight down. Oops, wrong thing. Let's erase this for a second. Right, so we're laying out the day so that you're relaxed when you trade. Everyone wants to know, well, what's the level? Well, I'll tell you right now. Every trader in the world is looking at 28.40, 28.38. They're going to try and hold it. It most likely holds because we're in a bull market, right? NQ is up a whopping 1 point, right? Okay. So I know first I got to get below that. If I get underneath this, the first thing I'm looking at is, wow, this was all poorly auctioned right through here. So what I want to be careful of, quick long liquidation, come down, then drive back in, right? And then on this backside test, it holds value area low and we trade through the range. That's the danger. Why? We're at the top of the market. And buyers like to buy at the top of the market. Okay. If we get below and we push this, then we can't get back above here and we get short signals through here, I want to see 28.33 break. Usually on the first break and one timing, on that break usually finds responsive buyers back up. Where's the likely places for that? I'm going to show you. See that little weird anomaly right there at 28.30 to 28.29? See how it's surrounded by a giant hole? My guess is that 28.30, 28.29 actually ends up acting as support. Okay, then it gets pretty bad underneath there. There's only one naked volume TPO point of control at 28.27. It's landing on an anomaly, but it's a middle anomaly, and those are usually weak. So this is questionable, right? And if I can get down to 28.23 and I could particularly get an over-under, but I would expect from 28.25 to 28.23, both because of the 20-point stretch and everything else, and the final anomaly in this profile, and that is an ugly profile, by the way. So the only word of warning on this profile is almost flat in nature and can be traded through really quickly. It's repaired at 28.23. And what am I doing in all this? Instead of trying to figure this out, I'm letting the algo do the heavy work because now I'm looking for the intraday clues. I know where we're likely to push and where we're likely not to push. So in my head, right, instead of entertaining ideas of trend day up, right, I know that can't happen until I get above 28.42.75. We've poked our head above it and we rejected. Number one thing, right? Number two thing, I know we can't make any progress to the downside unless I get below 28.37. Number three thing, if I'm trading in here, I expect it to be choppy, right, and have difficult price action to make this work, right? I'm sure everyone will be looking at NQ, so I keep a side eye on NQ, but I'm not trading NQ today until everyone figures out whether we want to continue higher or we want to continue grinding. Whichever one it is, I don't care. I just want to know which way they want to take NQ. But either way, unless the banks get weak, expect S&P to continue to rally. None of this is bearish. This is not a bearish gap down. We're not below prior day's low. And if it were me, I'd banish all thoughts of being short unless you are an expert trader. And everyone says, well, I want to be relaxed and confident in my trade. Well, when you're fighting the tide of straight up, it's very hard to be relaxed on your shorts. And when you're going with the tide, it's pretty easy to be relaxed, right? The goal is, and again, for those who are new in the room, if you're not using the tool from Slack, that's a great tool to support one another and staying disciplined, staying focused, and waiting for the trade setup, right? And what am I looking for specifically when I get to these areas? I'll go through it again, just like yesterday. There we go. Erase all lines. Let's get to just day session only on this, so it's easy to find. It'll take a second to load. Let's do this. Chart settings. 5 days. Okay, that should be quicker. There we go. My favorite setup in this current environment. Okay. Momentum push down. Trigger long. There's my first few points. Second favorite is the backside test of that push to add for the second leg up. And that trade worked, has worked, is working, has been working for weeks. And again, I'm not trying to hit the home run or figure everything else out. Every once in a while I'll look and go, hey, that's probably worth X, right? But I'm looking for this momentum push right here, right? You'll see we get the immediate 2 or 3 points, then the backside test, and occasionally I can get a bigger extension than 2 or 3 points. I'm loading up into these trades. I'm not encouraging anyone to go from, if you're a 2 contract trader or 1 contract trader, I'm not telling you to go from 2 to 5. What I'm telling you is build your P&L on your highest odds trades and push your size as you become confident that you can read the algo and that you can read support resistance levels. And don't try to trade a million times a day. Just try to find your highest odds trades, right? Again, if you'll look, last push down, right? Close above, immediate push, backside test, continuation. That trade is repeated. Doesn't matter how far back I go, right? And again, you'll see it here. This actually worked to the opposite end. Even here, where it was right off the top, right? We caught that long, if you remember. We closed above. You immediately get a 2 or 3 point push. I'm loading up on that close, right? And I'm scaling starting at 1, 1.5, 2 points, right? Because I'm very leveraged on that. If you're not as leveraged, right, you can go for a 1-to-1 risk reward, and the stop is right underneath the bar, about add 2 or 3 ticks, right? That should hold, right? The shorts are also working in here. I'm just ignoring the shorts right now until we stop going in one direction. And that's my 2 cents about that. Notice even under the pressure of NQ turning negative, ES has not been able to trade below the TPO. Right? See how we're just holding right in here? And we're coming down to test the volume point of control from yesterday, right? And they're just going to need work to get underneath here, and then they're going to have to establish underneath 28.37. If they can do it, that's great. I'll change my opinion. But first I want to see it trade below, and then I'll start looking for a change in character. And until then, I'm going to wait patiently. So what's the trade plan when we come down to the end of the day? We know where our support resistance levels are, right? Then I'm coming back to the chart. If I can find what I did with this. There we go. back over here. Oh, I need a few reference points. Hold on, and let's switch this to 24 hours. Okay, so biggest delta overnight. Let me go to my other chart. Is at 8:07 a.m. I stand corrected. So there's the biggest positive delta. Looks like we're at 7:36 a.m. right here. You have to get underneath this guy. Notice that's a star, right? See how they try to punch underneath them? The biggest negative delta is this 12:47, which occurred at 8:07 a.m. That's your other guy, right? Let me change these colors. Chart color. There we go. Gray. Okay. Cool. Okay. Biggest negative delta, biggest positive delta, sitting right on top of each other. Guess what? If I get above 28.45, so see all these stars that are pointed to the left, guys? All those push downs, right? Guess what? If I close above that 28.45, 28.46, this is, remember, you got to picture this like a pressure cooker, right? Everyone who's been up here, right, is trying to short through here, right? Guess what happens if you get above these guys? They've got a short cover. That's how it works, right? So what do I want to do? If I see a close above this, I'm either looking to buy, if I'm aggressive, I'm looking to buy the first close above this level. If I'm not aggressive, I'm willing to wait for a backside test. And what do I want to see? I want to see this 28.44 hold on the backside, and then I'm looking to get triggered in again by the micro environment in terms of the algo, right? Delta, it's not showing up on this chart, but I'll have it in a second. That is what I am looking for this morning. It's a pretty straightforward. This is my big number right here. If we don't get above 28.46, there'll still be downside pressure, but you can see we've pressed in early in the morning into that high volume node, and there's been no response. To the guy, I want to speak to the guys who've had a good week. There's been a bunch of guys in the room that've had a good week. You don't have to press on Friday. Monday and Friday are the narrowest range days of the week. Okay. Monday was awful. Okay. Today could go really dead, really fast, right at the end. Right at the end. Also, it's not the last day of the month, I don't think. Let me see what's the last day of the month. Tuesday's the last day of the month. You might want to mark on your calendar that we get crazy PA the last day of the month. Sometimes it's straight up, sometimes it's straight down. It's just harder to predict which one it's going to be. But you can already look at the range, right, from this morning. It looks like we're 43 to 38, 5 points. Expect slow grind. I'm going to look for these guys to trap themselves. My first clue that we're going to push higher is going to be getting above this guy right here, which also gets us above VWAP. And the way I would try to actually trade that trade is if we close above VWAP, I'd limit about one tick in front of VWAP, and then I would not want it to close back below, right? So that's how I would handle that push back to the upside. And there's plenty of time to let this trade play out. So that's my game plan. I'm not sure whether we're going up or down or completely sideways today. I know NQ is only down 4 points. ES is only down a point. And my guess is they're going to try and find a way to push up. I just simply want to see them break this level. And the way I'll probably manage that is I'll go in here small. And then if we close above 28.46, I'll use each pushback to add to my position to try to get them to break that 28.50 and grind to the upside. Or I hope they break it down and give me a good entry lower. Delta's overall negative, but not massively negative. Caution if Delta gets below negative 20,000 would indicate potential trend at the downside, at least in the morning, and then I would expect responsive buyers off that trend to the downside. That's my 2 cents for the day. If you'll follow a process and you'll ask the simple question, what is the market trying to accomplish, and how good a job is it trying to do that job, right? That's what you're asking. Every single day, you're going, what kind of job is the market doing here? Why can't I minimize this? There we go. Right? So what's the market doing? Here's NQ, right? It's just It hasn't gotten below the close area yet, right? We're just testing into the TPO point of control. It's not up. It's not down. We've gotten some profit taking from some guys who shorted off of Thursday's high, right? Number two, are we above the first 5-minute bar? Not yet, but if we get above, I bet we push, right? Have we been able to establish below? We have, and we haven't been able to get back above, but it's right into support. Open auction chop, right? You don't want to be a trader in open auction chop. Where you want to be a trader is where you're getting good, clean rotations down, right? Or good, clear breaks like we got yesterday morning, right? Where it breaks, quick backside test and push. I think we got both of these yesterday, if I recall correctly. I don't know how this is a 5-minute bar and the algo's on a 1.5 range bar, but all of that came together in one coherent trade, right? So anyways, that's my 2 and 3 cents. If anyone has any other questions, you are welcome to email me at tradertough@gmail.com. I am waiting to get above that 28.43, and then I intend to start looking to see if we can get above 28. I'll initiate a small position there, and then I'll start initiating bigger and bigger. I think we could actually trend up today if we can get above that 28.46. So, and that coincides, again, right? This is simple stuff. Coincides with holding above 28.4275. I know that we are likely to trend, or the best opportunity to trend is getting above that 28.4275, and I'll start working the trade from that perspective. And if we stay right in this little tiny range, I'm probably going to lunch early. So anyone have any questions? I'm looking on Slack. Oh, and by the way, Trump is speaking right now live. I don't know what he's saying, and neither does anyone else. So he's likely to say anything. It's not a criticism of the president. It's just he says crazy things sometimes, right? So does any idea of how long he's speaking, Ralph? I don't think he has any idea either, so that's fine. Anyways, when the president's speaking, just relax. It's the first 30 minutes of the market. Let him break it one way or the other, right? Once we break, everyone's going to have to pile in. The one thought I do have is that I've been reading a lot of bearish juice on the streams, right? The market's response to the numbers will tell you whether the numbers were important or not. Not what you think does not matter, right? No one's betting on your opinion. You're betting on other people's opinion and whether the market's undervalued or overvalued, and we're doing that in a very small, narrow time range. Keep asking, what does it look like when traders are trapped? Like, for example, if people keep pressing in here and they don't make it down, guess what they're going to do? Cover. If we get above here and people can't get back below 42.75, guess what? More money is going to pour in and push. The opposite's true. If we get underneath 28.37, and we can't get back to 39, people are going to go, uh-oh, all these people are trapped, and they're going to go, let's go fix this profile. And by the way, in this area right here, expect it to be very interesting. Look how bad the profile got this week. Here, I want to show you compared. Look at the profile, right? Sometimes it's just simple observation. See how clean those profiles are? See that? Very clear points of control, very clear anomalies. Like, it's not very confusing to me. That's a pretty easy chart to read down there, right? Look at this, okay? You don't see profiles that look like this very often. Choose well down in here, right? And manage your risk. Don't guess. Let the algo trigger you in, right? And if you hit your max stop losses, if the market goes nuts and just starts to sweep through here and you're contra in here, observe your stop losses and let the market do what it has to do. Right now, we have no chance of even re-auctioning this if we can't get past this. So that's it, guys. On YouTube, thanks for joining. If you have any questions, TRADERTOUGH@gmail.com. And have a wonderful Friday. We're right in support. They should find responsive buyers in here. So have a wonderful day.